Here at the BQN Network, we support and express solidarity for all of the writers and actors that have brought us the stories we passionately speak about. We continue to show love to all that are fighting the good fight for the WGA, SAG-AFTRA, and any upcoming strikes. We stand with you. You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Welcome to Cinema Z, a film discussion and review podcast on BQN. We're here to showcase the films you probably missed, but should definitely check out. From independent and obscure to art house and absurd, each episode will gather, perhaps cocktail in hand, to discuss it all. I'm your host, Laz Marquez, and with me today are Mark White, Matthew Jennings, and guess who's really leading this discussion? It is our new co-host, Shalimar Luis, who
Hi, everyone.
is a great friend of mine, and we are so grateful to have you.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here. Hi.
Welcome back. Listeners might remember Shalimar from her debut episode, which was amazing when we covered Batman Returns.
That was so much fun. I had to come back for more.
You were a great Alfred.
Yes.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you back.
So, curious, what are we all drinking this evening?
Well, our listeners are going to be shocked to their core because I didn't mix a cocktail tonight because we are talking about Annihilation. And Annihilation is a film that really has a lot to do with, I would say, other organisms maybe taking over organisms and turning people into, I don't know, mushroom spores. So today, ladies and gentlemen, for my first time ever on a podcast, I'm drinking psilocybin mushroom tea. I promise I won't trip. It's a low dose, I think.
Interesting.
But it might not be a low dose. But I will see how I'm doing in the next hour. And if I need to, step back, we'll see. But I'll let you know if anybody starts having color auras around them.
Or turning into a tree with some
I will
flowers.
fill you all in. So I am one with the organism.
I love that. You're so on theme. I always look forward to seeing, and you really kind of just blew my mind with this one. I would not expect you to bring in mushroom tea for a trippy movie like this.
That's very original.
I watched it on that too, so that helped. Oh my God. You really should, listeners. I am a strong advocate. Please watch the movie on mushrooms.
How about you, Shalimar? What are you drinking?
I am keeping it, I guess, basic at this point, but I have a whiskey and a Coke Zero, but the whiskey is something called Blackened, and it was made for Metallica. And that's all I know about it. And it has absolutely nothing to do with Annihilation, except the fact that I might have done a double, and I may myself get annihilated. Yeah. So I apologize in advance if I start to slur, but I'm going to blame Mark. So
please do.
Good.
And encourage.
And Matt?
Well, listeners, as you know, I'm always very classy with my drinks. Only the highest quality. So today, as I'm waiting on money from the next paycheck, so I just took whatever was in the refrigerator and I mixed a lovely strawberry margarita and mango margarita. And there we have it. And it's not quite on theme. It's on theme-ish as things are kind of melding and molding together to make a new thing.
It's definitely on theme.
So that's what we have, listeners. But
that's great.
Next podcast, if you're like, Matt needs to step up his game, I'll send you my direct deposit info. Just go ahead and slide me like a Q20 and I will
just cash at me.
Yes, cash at me. I'm on Venmo. So
would you like mushroom tea? I don't know. We're discussing next time, but
no, I tried it once and I was watching one of the newer Planet of the Apes movies, and I felt like I was in the movie with the apes
Oh, awesome.
fighting the battle.
Oh,
And
not good.
no, after that I was like, no, I don't
Wow.
think.
That's scary. That movie's terrifying to me.
It's a little intense.
Something about
Is it
apes
weird?
rising up. I don't like it.
Is it weird that I am jealous about that? I would love to be in that situation.
Oh, Lord.
Anywho, I'm drinking water yet again, listeners. I am afraid of what the shimmer might do to me. So I am being super healthy today.
Somebody needs to be able to walk out of the shimmer. One
Yes.
person.
And I hope it's me, but who knows? Because we gotta get into it, right? So I think now is a really good time to head into feedback. So Mark, you are the expert.
Am I?
You're on point.
Thank you. Well, we did get some feedback, of course, from our number one listener, Mel Larson, who joined us on the round table last week. Mel writes, Jackie Brown, as I learned on @CinemaZPod, is a rare Tarantino movie with a woman as the central figure. The only one he didn't solo write and was based on an existing work of fiction. Also, the one with heart, and it shows. So thanks, Mel. Great feedback.
Thank you, Mel.
Thank you.
So we mentioned on BlueSky that the adult cartoon Solar Opposites had done great homage to Stephen King's The Mist, and series creator Mike McMahon, our Trekkie listeners know who that is, said thanks, which was really cool. Therefore, he knows our existence and all is right with the world.
Woohoo!
Thanks, Mike McMahon.
Shall we take it away?
Absolutely. So, released in 2018, Annihilation, written and directed by Alex Garland, follows biologist Lena as she joins an all-female team to investigate the enigmatic shimmer, a mutating zone, after her husband mysteriously returns from a secret mission there, leading her to confront surreal landscapes and profound questions about reality and humanity. So I chose this film. I find Annihilation to be a visually stunning and thought-provoking exploration of transformation, self-destruction, and the unknown wrapped in a mesmerizing sci-fi narrative. The movie begins with Lena, played by Natalie Portman, being quarantined and interrogated about what happened during her expedition. Through flashbacks, we learn about her life, her relationship with her husband Kane, played by Oscar Isaac, and his inexplicable return after having been missing for a year. So overall, I love the way this movie begins, and I want to hear how all of your reactions were watching this film. How did you feel watching the beginning of this film? What were your reactions? What were you expecting?
So my thought going into the movie as I was watching it from the beginning, because where else would you watch a movie? I thought that it was going to be a linear story told. So I thought that we were going to start with Natalie Portman's character, I guess, not knowing what happened to her husband and seeing her go into the shimmer, or this team get together and make a plan and go into it. I was not expecting this movie to start at the end, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was a little, at the beginning, there was frustration with it starting at the end. But I think the non-linear storytelling format of this movie overall, I think, made the movie much better.
Definitely.
Yeah.
My initial thoughts with this movie were, because I love The Abyss, I immediately thought of The Abyss with the idea of the shimmer. I just thought of the giant water wall that you see in The Abyss at the end of The Abyss. The whole idea that the alien is, or I don't know, is alien a right word? Can I say that? I don't know.
Kind of.
Because the movie kind of leaves it up in the air, I think,
It does.
for you to.
Well, it's
It's
like,
almost
I
like
think
the aliens taking on a totally different form.
It has
Than we would
extraterrestrial
expect.
origin.
Yeah. It's an
So-
extraterrestrial biological entity, as Mulder would say.
The,
Yes,
The-
X-Files.
the ambiguity of the purpose of the shimmer, of the aliens, of the mutation, the ambiguity of all throughout the movie very much reminded me of The Abyss. So that was kind of like my way in. I also think that what I really liked was that the movie, in my opinion, wasn't dialogue heavy. I don't think there was a lot of exposition. I think the strongest moments in this movie were the moments where there wasn't any dialogue and we were just watching things.
Yeah, a lot of visual storytelling.
A lot of it. And audiovisual stuff too. There's a scene that maybe I'll just bring up later in the discussion that I think when I was watching it, I literally sent you guys my note and it was like, oh, what the fuck? What the fuck? And that was my note. So yeah, those are my initial thoughts. Go ahead.
So this is your first time watching it?
Oh yeah.
Oh, great.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great.
Love that.
I love experiencing my favorite films through people who've never seen it and watching their like I can't even watch the movie. I'm just on the couch watching them. Like, did you see? Did you see? Yeah, it's the best.
For me, the trailer looked really weird, and Natalie Portman was in it, so I was like, "Oh, I'm kind of sold." I think this is gonna be good. Initial impressions: there's not a lot of movies, I think, especially nowadays, that are allowed to breathe. Now, I've been a fan my whole life of cinema. I've watched a lot of different movies. I like old films. I like new films. But one thing that I really appreciate, especially like with older films, is that they allow the audience to take the journey with the character and be in the moment, right? Whether they're walking down a street and noticing like a lamplights flickering, or, you know, this particular thing's happening in the background as they're walking and you hear the cobblestones or what have you. You know what I mean? But you're in there and you're not just in a whirlwind of action scenes, right? If you've listened to the pod at all, you know those aren't my favorite films. So I like stuff that breathes, and this film breathes.
Yeah.
And I get to experience the shimmer along with the different characters. I noticed, I think midway through my first watch of this film, that it was primarily an all-female cast. And I love that it took me until the middle of the film to notice, because I never cared, because they were all amazing actresses.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got such an all-star cast for this. And I was sucked in. And then, like I think, Matt, you were alluding to, there's this whole... It's an experience. The film itself is an experience, especially when you get towards the end and as you get deeper into the shimmer, right? And they're talking about that in the film. It's like at first it's the subtle things, but the closer you get to the lighthouse itself, the more, you know, things get a little crazy. And it's that for the viewer too. The closer we get, the more the strange sounds happen, the more we start seeing weird things happening on screen that we can't understand. We don't know what's happening. And that's okay, because we're experiencing that moment with the characters. And this film, I mean, yes, it's in the spooky season, but it's so beautiful with audio, visual experience. I know how many times I put this on before I've gone to bed to just listen.
Oh,
it's great.
I mean, I don't know if I would put it on as ambient noise to go to bed with regarding certain scenes that happen, but
there are some
that.
treacherous screams in this movie that come up.
I'm asleep usually by the time the bear thing happens.
Yeah. I mean, you know what, though? I will say that the music in this movie, the score, is phenomenal from beginning to end. I was actually just listening to this movie while I was cleaning the bathroom before this podcast. I was like, oh, let me just refresh it one more time. And the audio, even when there's no dialogue, to Matt's point earlier, is still telling a story. I still know what's going on. I mean, to be fair, I've seen the movie a lot, so it's in my mind, but I'm still I'm emotionally with the characters as if I was just, sitting in front of my screen. So there's definitely something to that. And Laz, what did you think?
I'm normally not somebody who likes a film that time jumps and takes us through the narrative in the way that this film does. But I will say it's super effective because we see the motivation of our main character by the emotion that comes through her love for her husband, whether or not, that's something arguable later down the line. But seeing that connection, seeing the scene that hit me so hard in the beginning is her deciding to paint the walls. There's a scene where she feels like she's lost her husband.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a moment of change, even though she may have thought that the change would be happening, but that's a moment where she's giving up effectively before
Right.
he comes back into the picture. And something that really hit home for me, and it comes up throughout the entire narrative, is the song by Crosby, Stills, and Nash, Helplessly Hoping. And it's so powerful because it comes up a few times, I think. And it's such a good metaphor musically to really get us into that mood and what she's going through, what he might be going through, because we don't know what's happening. And just seeing that she ultimately really loves this man and is willing to do whatever she can. Like there's that scene where they have the water glass between them, and you can see that they're like she's
The
correct.
hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like she's trying so hard, and whether that's guilt or whether it's something else, there's something so rich about that like shot. I think it's really effective in setting up what is to come. Natalie Portman's character eventually, like some people, depending on where you lie on, the spectrum of like overly emotional or like overly practical, she kind of like lies right in the middle in my mind. So I think it sets her up to be somebody that we can all relate to in terms of motivation.
Absolutely. And I think to your point, one of the things that stood out to me, there's two things that stood out to me that I wanted to talk about. One of them is sort of that science lecture at the beginning of the movie, that really brief, beautiful lecture that she gives with this tone of disaffection, like she's given it a million times and she's almost kind of bored of it, but she's also like really passionate about it. It basically explains the entire movie in terms of mutation and self-destruction, and it really lays out all the themes beautifully in the first couple sentences of the movie, which I think is just fantastic screenwriting. And back to what you were saying, Laz, about the protagonist, she is somebody with questionable motivations. You see her at first being, cheating on her husband. You see her being kind of emotionless, but then emotional. Like she's just bouncing between these things. You don't know where she's at. She's imperfect. She's obviously guilt and shame ridden. She's kind of unlikable for cheating on Oscar Isaac. Like, I'm like, I take it a little personal.
I'm mad about it.
My goodness, out of
Like
all people.
I'll take it.
Right? Yeah, and I think it's kind of a brave decision to put an unlikable protagonist as your female lead in a movie with all women. Like that's kind of against the norm. And speaking to Lena being the protagonist, having read the book last year, to be fair, I audio read the book. I wanted to talk about a couple little differences in each act that kind of, they're big differences to be honest, but they sort of give you some context about where the original story came from and what Alex Garland did with it. So in the book, it's not as emotional as the movie is. It's very detached. You're reading it from the format of the biologist, who's Lena in the movie, her science journal, her notes of this whole mission. So any sort of emotional beat about her husband, about her companions on the trip, you only get through context clues, as where in the movie, it's much more grounded in all these like emotional motivations. So it's very fascinating to read this book. And I saw the movie first. And when I read the book, I was like, what the hell? This is so different. And I'm looking forward to talking about some more exciting differences from the movie and the book.
Love that. Thank you.
Thanks, Shal.
It's kind of interesting because when you say that, because I didn't even know that it was a book until we had discussed it just in our chat, that it was a book first. And that makes me think of Frankenstein was kind of written in the same kind of format, wasn't it? As it was a journal just going over the person's notes about how he's trying to create this being and so on. I think in terms of, having the emotion be heightened in the movie, I guess it's, it's necessary, right? Because that's as an audience, that's our way into the world and into the story.
Yeah, in the book, her motivations are unclear. She doesn't have the same motivations entering the shimmer. Her husband is has been MIA. He doesn't return. She assumes he's dead. She is going into the shimmer out of pure, like, scientific curiosity. And her marriage with her husband is more defined by the fact that he's always out on leave and she's always off in the forest, like being a biologist, doing whatever she does. Like, she's just so into her work. And that comes through in the book. And it sort of creates this weird thing that you're like very detached from the protagonist in the book, because things might be happening. Shit might have gone down, but you're just reading her scientific journal about it. So she's just talking about it, without any of that, I don't know, like,
it's like
drama.
all logic, no emotion. But what's fascinating about what you're saying is that even though there's changes, I still pick that up in her character.
Oh my God.
Stone,
Yes.
It comes through in the performance and these little subtle, like,
Absolutely.
yeah, we'll get to it once we get to those acts. Okay, so let's go to Act 2, Entering the Shimmer. So Lena joins an all-female team of scientists to investigate the shimmer. Inside the shimmer, they encounter a distorted sense of time and space, mutated landscapes, and hybrid creatures, amongst other things. There's a lot of things that happen in this moment where we see Lena engaging with Ventress, where we see Lena meeting her team for the first time and making the decision to go in the shimmer, because she's just so curious and so sort of guilt-ridden about what happened to her husband. So I'd love to hear your perspective on being introduced to these characters. Do you feel like the story benefited from having an all-female team or cast? And who did you relate to the most?
I think that if we had, thinking about this in terms of a movie, I think if we had an all-male cast, I think the story would have been told differently. And I don't know if I would have wanted to have seen it, to be very honest. I think especially in Hollywood, I think if we had an all-male cast, this may have easily been something like Expendables. And that is not to knock the Expendables franchise, but I just, in terms of, the transition from book to movie, I don't think that's the kind of tone that this movie needs. But I think if we were to have an all-male cast, we may have seen something like that. Or we may have seen a version of this movie where these men are not able to process their emotions, and it comes out in some sort of angsty, aggressive way, because sometimes in Hollywood, that's the only way that a man can show aggression is through anger. So I don't know if we would have had the same story. And on the other end of that, there is the stereotype of women always being emotional in film. And I guess what I'm saying is that the stereotype did not come through in this movie with an all-female cast. But at the same time, if the creators were trying to go that route, it didn't succeed in a good way. Am I making any kind of sense with that?
Yeah.
I think so. I think there's a lot to be said about it, because
Yes.
you don't want to put men or male identifying people in a corner that they are a certain type of way.
Right.
But in terms of how movies are made, that's the
Yes.
formula that usually happens.
Yes.
And usually works as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in just to pick up and
Yeah.
then go to Mark's, because I wanted to just kind of elaborate on this, because I
Yeah.
had a similar thought when I was like writing my notes about what to say about this, because
Yeah.
I do think a similar story could have been told with a team of men, maybe if they weren't military, because I think the concept of military, male or female, you've got people that are hyper focused on a mission. They have all these protocols and things that they're just naturally inclined to follow in training. And I think that in itself would have made a slightly different story, as where I feel like this team of characters, they're not military. They're all coming from different parts in their lives and disciplines. They have much more personal motivations for going on what they pretty much know is a suicide mission. So I think the military, and even in the movie, Ventress is so interesting because she is so disaffected.
Yes.
That character's performance, like the permanent vocal fry that she has on everything, you could already tell she's just given up. And
she also doesn't care about anybody or anything.
No,
that
she
happens around
doesn't.
them.
She
No.
really doesn't.
I got to give it up to her as well. The actress, the name, oh God, what is the name of
Jennifer
the
Jason Leigh.
Yes, I've only seen her in comedic roles. So when I saw her in this, it was a joy to watch.
Yeah.
To watch the coldness, to watch this dramatic, serious performance. I loved seeing that. I love when actors stretch.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, Mark, what did you think? What did you believe the story benefit from a female cast, and who did you relate to the most? I know we didn't actually get to bring that one up, but maybe we could circle back to it.
What I was talking about at the beginning with being allowed to breathe, I think that only happened because it was the female cast, and that's sad to say because I'd like to see it done with maybe. I think an all male cast would probably be boring, but like a mixed cast, male and female, like would be cool. But done this way, like where it's allowed to breathe. But I think they were able to do that because it was an all female cast. They just allowed them to have more, I guess, time for existing. I don't know, as strange as that sounds, because when you have men in most films, it's like they've got to be accomplishing this and this and doing that, and this is very, I don't know, there's an urgency. And with this, they allowed the women to just sort of experience it, and then as the viewers, we experience it with them. So I think it benefited in that way, but I wish that that wasn't the case, because I wish that it could be that way no matter who was in the film.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about you, Laz? What are your thoughts?
I think something fascinating about this film, and Mark, I think you mentioned this earlier, is you almost forget that it's an all-female team at points within this, because each one of them reacts very differently. Some of them might react similar to how we think of a stereotypical, like, Hollywood male, action hero. Some have a little bit more emotion. But I think what benefits the narrative the most is the fact that they're speaking to one another and sharing certain qualities about themselves. Not all of them, but they share enough together where I think that's typically in Hollywood looked or frowned upon, with male narratives, where it's like they're not having conversations like that. Even when, in the beginning, when they first meet and they're having beers, they're talking about certain things. And then when we see one of my favorite characters and the character that I personally relate to the most, Cass Shepard and Lena are in the boat and they're just talking about their lives. It's not anything over dramatic. They're just sharing with each other certain aspects, and that creates a stronger bond.
Yeah. I think again too, it gives us more access as an audience into the story, and it gives us more permission to take this journey with them.
Yeah,
absolutely. I wanted to bring up a couple book notes that totally relate to this conversation. So there's like the kind of, I find it a little boring that there's no visual shimmer in the book. It's just like this invisible space that's controlled by a military-like organization. And the other thing is that we don't know any of the characters' names. They're all just have these professional titles. They're the biologist, the psychologist, the physicist, all these different, and I even think the professions are a little different in the book. But what it does is it denies us that beautiful sort of quick emotional sort of entry that you get, where you get to sort of see just a little bit of all these characters before they're about to dive into the unknown and where their mindsets are. You don't get that in the book.
There's that really beautiful moment in that scene I was just talking about where they're having beers, where I think, or maybe it's on the boat with Shepard, where she's kind of outlining these different people and their motivations.
Yeah.
Where it's like, this is my story, that's her story, but like in a very delicate way. Like she's not over revealing, but she's kind of giving Lena the lay of the land.
Yeah.
And I think that's really beautiful.
It is. And one other quick note, because it totally relates to what we're talking about. In the book, there's even less men. So I don't think you could have done this story with a different cast, because that's just not how it was written originally, unless they did a total rewrite. But you don't see her husband. She's not having an affair with anybody. There's not really a lot of men in her motivation for going into the shimmer. So the book is even more devoid of that. And really, I mean, it's not really gender, it's not really about that, as because you don't even think about it, but it's just interesting how they felt like they needed to add that sort of touch in the movie to make her more relatable, maybe, or more likable. Because in the book, you're kind of, I don't know if I like this person, because you're reading her journals. So after we meet the team, after we sort of make the decision to head into the shimmer, Laz, tell us what comes next.
Ooh, you passed the baton on my favorite topic, some of the horrors. So, as they move deeper into the shimmer, the team faces horrifying threats and a further descent into madness. So, at this point, like, they're well aware that they're losing time, they're losing thought, they're seeing things that are unbelievable, they're questioning their own motives. We can see a lot of these characters breaking down. So, in that regard, what were some of these moments or creatures or anything spooky that we want to talk about?
The best way to get a genuine scare, I feel like, from somebody, and I'm not a horror expert, I don't know, but for me personally, I'm speaking from experience, the best way to do it is to get my guard down, right? And so this movie is an expert masterclass at that. So we see these beautiful duplicated deer things hopping around, and they're so stunning. And you're just sitting there with the characters admiring the beauty. And then you come upon this abandoned, it looks like a fisherman's shack with a wharf, right? And it is covered in flowers, and they're examining each of the flowers and looking at how pretty they are and understanding that they're all one organism. And how fascinating is that? Which is the perfect time to scare the living shit out of you, because they grab Tessa Thompson. I forget her character's name, but Tessa Thompson, they grab her backpack and yank her, and you're like, what the fuck? And it shocks you because you're not ready for it. Because the whole, like Laz was saying at the beginning, the music, you get Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, sort of playing, and then it's just all this ambient sounds, and it's all very just light and airy, and we're all breathing, and we're existing. We're not ready for that, and we don't see it. We don't see it for such a long time. A crazy amount of time they don't show the creature, which makes it more scary. So for me, that's how I feel. I thought that it was a masterclass in how to actually properly scare somebody.
Something I'll add in here real quick is you were saying, like, it's that cause and effect with horror. If you're going to achieve it properly, you want it to be unexpected, but you don't want it to be like a jump scare, especially in a film like this. So you have so many moments where it's almost like quiet horror. Things happen, but they're not like out of nowhere, except for maybe one moment. But they take their time. They let it breathe, like you were saying, Mark.
I had a total moment when the creature grabs Tessa Thompson, and I said, there we go, black person's gone, here we go, here it is, here it is. Like,
I know, it's awful. I thought the same thing my first viewing. I was like, oh no, she can't die, she's the black one.
That's where my mind went. Or at least I was like, wait a minute, this is the 21st century, she's supposed to be like the fourth or fifth person to die.
Can we talk about her for a second too? Because like the true horror about that character is that we are told earlier in the narrative that she might be a cutter, right?
Right.
So she's already similar to a lot of notes that Shalimar said about, like, these people and their motivations are very complex. So she eventually, at this point in the film, decides to just let go.
There was some
in her own terms, but that's even horrific in itself.
It was, I mean, there was something that was very, in my opinion, very beautiful about that moment where she lets go. I wasn't thinking about her personal motivation. I was just thinking, she has that moment where she says to, oh my God, Lena, she says, Ventress wants to face it. She said, you want to fight it. And she says something along the effects of, I don't want to do either of those things. And she just goes and she walks off. For one thing, with the black person dying first trope, I said, no, this bitch decided. She said, I'm going to do it on my own terms when I want to.
Absolutely.
That was like one thing. But also, there was a power in that scene in the acceptance of the circumstances and the situation. And that stood out to me so much.
I love that scene too. It's one of my favorites. I think it's the scene where I fell in love with the movie. It wasn't even the end of the movie, which was its own thing. There was something about that, which again ties back to like this notion of poetry and
Yes.
and the lines that you were just recounting. I think that's just so relatable and not so much like walking off to your doom,
No.
but accepting circumstances, and sometimes just if you can't beat them, join them in the notion of your own personal circumstances, if it makes sense. Sometimes it's the most peaceful route than to keep fighting or, but
Especially for somebody who we have been told has dealt with depression, right?
Right.
It's a very big issue. So to have that character not be depressed in that moment, she's
Yes.
like she's
Yeah.
fine.
She has a moment. There's a moment of clarity there, and it's like we're watching it in real time. We're watching her have clarity of, oh, this is it. This is what I got to do.
I wonder if she just realizes she's finally free.
Yeah.
I think I can't speak for it, but I witnessed it. And when people are very low in their life, you feel sort of trapped. And perhaps she realized, well, there's nothing I can do. This is happening. I might as well become a flower person.
So something else I want to bring up here in the horror segment is the infamous scene where Anya decides that she's had enough. She's been kind of breaking down emotionally, and she decides to take our existing characters, tie them up, and effectively threaten them because she doesn't feel like she can trust them. So we end up with a scene where a mutated bear with the voice of Shepherd, one of their lost comrades from earlier, like the bear speaks or roars and it's saying, help me, or screaming, all of these things. So what was your take on that whole sequence?
I feel like the bear is confused. Like, I don't think it's just roaring and her voice is coming out. I think her consciousness is in there and she's roaring to get out. And when you think about it like that, is that not one of the most horrifying things you could think of? And the sounds of those screams, like the sound design of this movie is fucking phenomenal. Especially when you're just listening to it on like the big headphones and you hear that the layers in that roar. It's like, I don't know, it's like stabbing you in the back of the neck a little bit. It really hurts, especially because Shepherd was such an empathetic character. She was trying to, bring Lena in and say, this is what's going on with all of us. You don't need to worry about your own baggage. Like, we're all fucked. She's just that person you want to be your friend. And she goes out in the most horrible way possible. Not to mention that she lost a child, and immediately makes you love her even more. Yeah, so which again goes back to the very beginning of the movie, when that whole scene where she's talking about how cancer cells work to her class. So it's just that theme keeps coming in, this notion of mutation, self-destruction, in all these different ways. And another thing I wanted to talk about that moment is the performance, and Gina Rodriguez, her fear is so palpable. Like, she's the representation of she's almost like the straight man in the cast, in the sense that she's like, you guys, this is fucked. Like, why are you all so relaxed? And I think that also highlights Lena's character, how she's so calm, which I think echoes her character in the book, who instead of being sort of afraid, she's just kind of like really curious and wants to keep knowing, keep exploring and going deeper into the tunnel, which in the movie we see it as a lighthouse, but in the book it's like a tunnel that she calls a tower for whatever reason. And anyway, so just that being said, I love Anya's performance. Gina Rodriguez's performance is so good in that moment. At first you're kind of like, relax, Gina, like, you're gonna make it worse, but you're also like, this is totally true. And she's sitting there saying, I don't know if I can trust you guys, or am I changing? If I cut open my stomach, is there gonna be worms inside? And that's another thing we didn't really talk about, is when they get to the military base and they discover that there was people there, and the sort of body growing up against the pool with all the tendrils. I mean, that's a pivotal scene. So I would love to hear, Matt, specifically your reaction, since it was your first time seeing it, and I want to hear what your thoughts were when you saw that whole sequence.
Okay, so listeners, here we go. So I'm going to try to be short, but break this down. So we have the scene where we are watching the recording of the military officers, and the man gets his stomach cut open, and we see worms just going ever which way inside. And then cut to later on, we have the bear scene where Anya is holding everyone hostage. And then we hear the scream off, and Anya's like, I thought she was dead. I'm like, girl, I thought she was too. So I don't know what's going on. One thing, after watching The Mist, I think I came into Annihilation thinking, okay, this is going to be a very interesting, very mellow, very calm, artsy film. Here we go. This is a nice transition. And sure enough, we're right back to interdimensional, and I was so mad. I was mad at both. Both Shalimar and Lars. Yeah. I was like, damn it. But all that aside, there is something incredibly haunting about that scream, and that being that character's last moments. And, Shalimar, as you said, that bear is not necessarily roaring. That bear is confused. And listeners, when she was just talking about that, saying that she thinks that the bear is confused, I literally clutched my pearls, because that just adds a whole other element of just, ugh.
Yeah, it's really upsetting.
So it's upsetting. It is incredibly effective. And
it's pretty brutal. Like, that bear rips off Anya's face, and they show it, and it hurts my feelings. It's pretty bad. It's really gruesome. Yeah, I showed this film to my partner, and afterwards he's like, I don't know if I like that. I don't feel good right now. Like, it really upset him.
I mean, but yet again, in terms of, just cinema and, helping us to have a way in as an audience and access in, that's probably one of the most horrific things that I have ever seen in cinema, ever heard. Just not even the visual, the audio, the sound is what
that audio is so powerful.
Stays with me the most.
And the tension within itself, like, even when, like, because Lena at that point has her mask down where she was initially silenced, and just her saying, like, don't react, you're terrified in that moment. It's like, oh my God, I wouldn't be able to. I'd be like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So entering the climax of the movie, Lena enters the lighthouse and things get weirder.
So
this is true.
I think, it's interesting at this point, because ultimately Lena has been telling the rest of the team, like, we need to go to the coast, right? That's where we have to be to get back home. And, like, the team outside of Ventress at this point is lost. So we kind of start to see how all of this coalesces to the ending, where we find her at the facility recounting her experiences, reuniting with Kane, and, like, something about that ending just doesn't feel right. So I'm curious, let's start with you, Mark. How did you feel about, like, this climax leading into kind of that end beat?
Because it happened sort of following the real horror part of it, it follows just the natural state of fear. This film really does do that. Like, there's the whole, I'm going about my day, everything's sort of fine, I'm just exploring here, this new surrounding. Oh, then all this crazy stuff happens, I'm freaked out. And then it's followed by the bewilderment, and that's where we find our heroine at the end of the film, in this sort of state of bewilderment. And us as a viewer, we're in that state as well. So by the time we get to the lighthouse, we're all still reeling from what had taken place before, and slightly confused and catching our breath. And it's just very bizarre. And I think, Matt, you stated earlier, there's not a lot of dialogue, in particular towards the end of the film. When you're down to one character, she has nobody to talk to. So you're watching things unfurl and not necessarily knowing what's happening. And I don't know how many times I've watched this film. I bought it immediately as soon as it came out, and I've watched it more times than I can count. And I always feel a little differently about the film after every viewing. I always look at it a different way. There's a scene in the end of the film, the very end, where Lena is hugging her husband. And I don't know. I didn't remember specifically before seeing the shimmer in their eyes. Maybe I had, maybe I hadn't, but this time I really noticed and was like, oh, so there's a whole other layer to the onion. Just when you think there's no more layers to the onion, there's another layer of the onion. And that's one of the beautiful things about this film. It's like you have to watch it over and over again to really understand it. And even when you think you understand it, there's more to understand.
When we get to this part of the movie, I think the first time I saw it, I really did not know what I was expecting. And I think what I got was absolutely not what I was expecting. And the beginning scene with her entering the lighthouse and finding Ventress in that weird trippy hole, and then the thing like takes a little drop of her blood, and you're like, what the hell's happening? And then you start seeing the clone form. That in itself is, it went from being horror, even though it's still sci-fi with the notions around, the biology aspect of what's happening within the shimmer, the prism speech that Josie gives. But now it's when the movie to me starts feeling sci-fi, is when I see this kind of moment happening. And then when we move on into her, that whole mirroring scene, the score for me just climaxes there with these weird pulsing organic alien sounds, like wah, wah, wah. Like I don't even know what it is, but it's all very dancey and physical, and that's such an incredible moment to see that.
Such a good way to point it out. Like there is a dance, I think, between even when the clone is created, where they're mimicking each other, and it feels like almost like a modern dance.
Yeah.
Oh, it was, I mean, to jump in a little bit, it was very much giving, like, I don't know, Sierra, Janet Jackson music video vibes when I was watching this.
It totally
but in
is.
a scary, creepy way.
In a very scary, creepy way, but it was like, I was immediately thinking, oh, this is like a music video right now. But watching the journey of this newly formed being, learning from Lena how to walk, talk, whatever else, whatever other kind of behaviors it was picking up in the moment was very interesting to watch. It was really cool to watch that moment happen in real time. I really enjoyed that.
And how she outsmarts it. Like that is so satisfying, because this whole movie, you're seeing this whole team being decimated. You're seeing just kind of not great things happening. And finally you see her kind of overcoming one of these damn obstacles, and it's the scariest one. And I definitely think there's something exciting about that as a viewer that makes it so rewatchable, that heroine making it to the end despite all these circumstances. I mean, just like Mark, this movie for me is a comfort movie. I watch it all the time when I need a boost, which is ironic because it's not a really boosty movie. It sort of leaves you thinking, the way it ends.
Which is awesome.
It's a weird comfort blanket.
Yeah, it is.
It's an acquired taste. I don't know if I would, put it on a Saturday afternoon
to go to sleep.
I think something that's fascinating as well is there is ambiguity to like this ending, because I don't know that we've particularly, even with some horror, infused within this film, that we know whether this creature, alien entity is bad. Like we never get that closure. So maybe we're the villains.
I mean, I think that was like the purpose of the piece was to have you thinking about that afterwards. I mean, there was one moment where, Lena is being questioned while she's, in quarantine, and, they're saying, well, it attacked you or something along those lines. And Lena said, no, I don't think so. And there was a part of me that was like, no, that thing straight up hit you at one moment and you got knocked out. No. But the rest of it,
I bet it's because she's looking at it like a biologist. What she's thinking of, this is what organisms do. I don't know if it was attacking me, if it was defending itself. That's the way I saw it.
Yeah. I would agree. Like me personally, I'm like, no, you hit me.
There is a very interesting parallel from Ventress to Josie. So Josie was the depressive who had potentially tried to take her own life or
Right.
did on her own terms. Ventress went into this mission with full intention to just give herself over. So I think there's something interesting about like how you choose to approach things.
Mm.
I do want to say for anybody who is in need, anyone who is in crisis or considering any sort of suicide, you can reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline through 988 on your phone. It's available 24 hours a day, and English and Spanish are included.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for
Awesome.
sharing that. Thank you.
Definitely. I wanted to just bring up one or two little book notes. In terms of ambiguity, the book is so damn ambiguous that you're definitely left like, what? And that absolutely has to do with the fact that it's part of a trilogy. And I haven't read the other two. And in researching this book and trying to remind myself of everything that I read, because it was a while ago, I was getting a little bit of snippets and spoilers of the other two books, and it's very different. It really dives all the way into sort of like the space horror genre. And I'm actually thinking of like re-picking up the first one and just kind of plowing through all three just to really get myself into that mode. The movie ends similarly as the book in the sense that you don't kind of know really who's who and what's what. But Lena stays in the shimmer, and she decides to, or the biologist, I'm sorry, continues on to find her husband, who's apparently also alive, and definitely somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what happens. So they do kind of reunite, but in very different circumstances. I'd love to hear sort of like a quick overall impression or any sort of standout elements or perhaps rewrites that you might want to include in your review. I'm going to start with you, Laz.
I think it's a really well-rounded film. What really impresses me, and it's something that, thank you, all of you, because through the discussion, I started realizing that this film and the acts are broken up into almost like different kinds of films. So you kind of start with like a drama, then you might go into like a more scientific, logical space. Then you go into horror, and then you go like far sci-fi. That kind of texture really elevates this film and makes it very special in my mind. So I would highly recommend it. If I were to rewrite anything, I would not. I think standouts for sure are Natalie Portman. I want to highlight one of my favorite characters, Cass Shepard, played by Tuva Novotny. I think that she really elevated the film in her limited scenes and gave a lot of texture and emotion and empathy that might have otherwise been lost. And that's really it for me.
Yeah, she was definitely Heart for me. Like if she was one of the Captain Planet people, she was Heart for sure. Mark, what did you think?
Standout for me would be the casting. Obviously, I brought that up at the beginning, just how blown away I am with the casting. There's a lot of people on the internet, and I've discovered this over the years as a cinephile, and a lot of the films I like end up having Natalie Portman in them, oddly enough. And there's a lot of people out there that will punch down on her a lot and criticize her acting ability and all that. I don't have a clue where that comes from, because everything I've seen her in, I thought she just knocked it over the moon. She's a great actress. And so I will say that. Obviously, Jennifer Jason Leigh.
She's so good. She's so good. That performance is great.
I loved her in Hateful Eight, which is a Tarantino film. That also is one of the rare Tarantino films that breathes. It has a lot of space with the characters.
That's because it's 4 hours long.
Yeah, it's a character piece, and she did a great job in that as well. And I know Laz must have loved it.
Very different. She has range. Very different.
Listeners, I'm shaking my head. I'm not a Tarantino.
So
the only film that I enjoyed of his work, outside of maybe Inglourious Bastards. So whatever.
So one more standout I have is the director. Specifically, and I don't even remember the director's name. I don't know who directed it.
Alex Garland.
Okay. Alex Garland did a great job with sticking to their is her. I'm not sure. Their guns with leaving Natalie Portman's character alone because there was a lot of pushback from the studio to make the character a little more likable. So not having them, cheat on her husband. But that is not humanity. And honestly, we've been watching movies since, the early part of the 20th century at this point. Every hero in a film can't be perfect. Yeah. And I am tired of the trope of perfect heroes because this is what divides humans. This is what divides nations, not being able to understand that humans are flawed and humans do make mistakes, but just because a human makes a mistake doesn't mean that you should write them off completely as being irredeemable or not worthy of love or anything else. Because everyone's life experiences is colored with so many ups and downs. None of us are perfect. None of us. And so here we have a character that, yes, made, I guess, a mistake. Who knows? Who knows? We never saw their marriage. Okay?
Yeah.
We never knew their dynamic. We don't know what the husband was doing or why he was away for so long. You know what I mean? So we can't be the judge and jury and convict that character. So hats off to the director once again for letting the character be, I guess, quote unquote, flawed as a human and having her still be likable through the whole film and you still root for her. So kudos.
Absolutely. That's definitely a testament to just like a great screenplay. So Matt, what were your standouts?
I think my standouts were definitely Jennifer Jason Leigh, just because I haven't seen her any other way before, and this was just a nice treat. I love when actors, I love when actors stretch and get to do something different. I think sometimes as an audience, we say, oh, they're doing this, and I'm thinking to myself, sometimes actors just aren't given the opportunity to do something else.
Yeah.
And she was given the opportunity to do something else, so that was great. I really enjoyed Tessa Thompson as well. Again, that scene where her character has that moment of just acceptance, in my opinion, of the circumstances and kind of takes power into her own hands. That's powerful to me. So I really enjoyed that. Overall, the film, again, I know I brought it up before. It just makes me think of The Abyss in terms of it's not, yet another situation where aliens or some unknown entity has come to destroy Earth or has come to annihilate the species. We really have an ambiguous story where the viewers and the audience, it's kind of up to us to think about and to process what was happening, what was going on, what were the intentions, and to maybe take this a step further, maybe too far, I don't know, with the knowledge of that, we now have biologics, which I don't think any of us were surprised about. I think bringing, this kind of subject matter in the next 5, maybe 2 years, who knows when, this kind of stuff is all the more important to discuss in terms of, Mark, as you said, beings being flawed and not being perfect, and, having the room to accept, the room to observe and welcome, and to really look at things with an objective eye instead of more of a binary lens.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to echo that because there's like nothing binary about this movie. But just really quick, obviously I love this film because I chose it. I think it's a fantastic screenplay. It's super tight. There's nothing extraneous that I feel like I would need to cut. My favorite performances, hands down, is definitely Jennifer Jason Leigh as Ventress, especially on this recent rewatch. Because of just that incredible lack of affect that she managed to incorporate into every, it's like, how you said, letting actors do as much as they can. It's almost like she did as little as she could, to sort of get this I've given up sort of note. And then Natalie Portman, I've always loved Natalie Portman, maybe because I am of the generation of the millennial growing up with her and Leon the Professional to Mars Attacks to Star Wars to all that stuff. Like
she was in Mars Attacks?
Oh my God,
yes.
she was the president's daughter.
She's the president's
Oh my
daughter.
God, I have to go back now.
I
You
love
should.
that film.
It's
Love
a
that
riveting
film.
role that I think defined her career. No, I'm kidding. But it is great. Super cute.
Fun fact, me and Shalimar have known each other since we were kids. And oftentimes, even though I'm a gay man myself, I always say Natalie Portman is my wife. Like, she would be like the one person I would turn straight for.
I get it. I get it.
She has it. And I think what she does in this film is she navigates this notion of vulnerable, but also incredibly capable. You know, she when she shoots that alligator and she gets on one knee, and it's like that's just so satisfying to watch. Like, that to me is the equivalent of like Wonder Woman leaving the trench. It's just a very cool thing to see as a woman, to see another woman own the moment, take it down, and not making it about the fact that she's a woman that could shoot. Shepard's like, oh, so you could shoot? She's like, yeah, I was in the army. It's just like a
Oh my
casual
God.
thing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the camera stayed on her as she was just like holding the rifle, and I was like, she's
you
not
feel
to
it.
be
You feel
messed
the
with.
recoil of the scene. Like, there's just something about that I love that moment. So should we move on to director's cut?
Woohoo!
And now we're pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
So the first director's cut scene here is a bedroom scene, and this is the post lovemaking between Lena and Dan, who is a fellow, I guess, professor at the college they both work at. They both sort of have odd relationships with their spouses, and yeah, evidently this has been a thing for a while, but this is sort of the last hoorah. And I'm going to take on the role of Lena for this one, and Matt I've volunteered Matt to be Dan. So
I'm
thanks,
going
Matt.
to be Dan.
Okay, hold on. I gotta get in Lena mode here. Gotta find my inner Natalie Portman.
Find your inner Amidala.
Oh my goodness. I'm not going to talk about the Trade Federation here. Okay, this is not the pod for that.
Okay.
Action.
This was a mistake.
Okay. You spend more time away from your husband than with him. You can't talk to him about work, and he won't talk to you about his. And there is a clear physical and intellectual connection between us. Have I covered the bases?
You forgot to mention your wife.
I love my wife. She is blameless in this. Come on, Lena, what's really going on here? You think that something may have happened to him, or you think he knows? That's it, isn't it? You think that somehow he's found out about our affair. Has he found out?
Yes. You should go.
No, Lena.
Dan, I'm not interested in talking or anything you have to say. Just get dressed and get out.
You know, it's not me you hate. It's yourself.
No, Dan, it's you too. And it's never going to happen again.
Cut.
Love it. I love that scene.
I do too. I love that scene. So thank you guys for indulging.
Good job, boy.
The next scene we have here, Lena and Josie, they have left their little cabin bungalow, and they are outside processing, I guess, the horrors that happened the night before, which was with the bear creature. And so they're sitting there after all of that. It's that next morning, and they're both sitting out there in the garden. Oh, and Laz is going to be Lena, and it looks like Shalamar has volunteered to be Josie.
Action.
You should go, Josie.
How long was your husband in the shimmer?
It's hard to say exactly, theoretically as long as a year.
That's a long time to be inside and remain intact.
I'm not so sure he was intact.
I'm right about the refractions, aren't I?
Yeah. I checked my blood last night. It's in me.
It will be in all of us. It was so strange hearing Shepard's voice in the mouth of that creature last night. I think as she was dying, a part of her mind became part of the creature that was killing her. Imagine dying frightened and in pain and having that as the only part of you which survives. I wouldn't like that at all. Ventress wants to face it. You want to fight it. But I don't think I want any of those things.
Josie? Josie? Josie!
Cut.
All right, listeners, we have one more scene here, and I have titled this scene Annihilation inside the lighthouse because, well, that is the scene. So this is obviously part of the latter part of the film when they finally get to the lighthouse. Well, Lena does, and she meets, surprisingly, Ventress, who's already inside, and they have a little back and forth here. So Matt has volunteered to be Ventress, and it looks like Shalamar is going to be Lena in this one. So enjoy.
Action.
It's the last phase. Vanished into havoc. Unfathomable mind, and now bacon, now sea.
Dr. Ventress?
Lena, you spoke. What was it we said that I needed to know what was inside the lighthouse? And that moment's past. It's inside me now.
What's inside you?
It's not like us. It's unlike us. I don't know what it wants or if it wants, but it will grow until it encompasses everything. Our bodies, our minds will be fragmented into their smallest parts until not one part remains.
Annihilation. Cut.
You should just insert the Wilhelm scream in there. It'd be pretty funny.
I'll insert goats screaming.
Oh no!
All right. Should we do a little trivia?
Yeah.
Well, after a test screening didn't go well, Paramount's executive David Ellison thought the film was a bit too intellectual and wanted to tweak it, like making Natalie Portman's character more likable and changing the ending. However, producer Scott Rudin backed the director Alex Garland, wanting to keep the film as it was. Luckily for Garland, Rudin had the final say, and
Thank God.
he did, because yeah.
Thank God.
Mm-hmm.
Director Alex Garland decided not to reread the novel Annihilation. Instead, he decided to adapt it like a dream of the book, which I love that little tidbit. That's so great.
Frances McDormand was considered for the role of Dr. Ventress before Jennifer Jason Leigh was cast. I could have seen
her.
too.
I
She
love
has too
her,
much energy.
Yeah.
but Jennifer Jason Leigh was the perfect cast. So
Yeah.
She was
I feel
good.
like Frances McDormand's too intense for like that role that's devoid of any intensity.
I don't know. I think it would have been interesting to see the choices that she would have made. I would have been
Yeah.
for it.
I was in an elevator once with Frances McDormand.
Oh, goodness.
I know.
I will
close to
say, I think
greatness.
Frances McDormand probably has too much heart and passion for the role of Ventress. I think that detachment would have been a little harder to see with her in that role.
Yeah. I'd be curious to see it though. If they did like
Yeah.
an SNL style auditions, what would be her
Yeah.
audition?
So Natalie Portman, Tessa Thompson, and Benedict Wong were all in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Portman was in Thor of 2011 and Thor: The Dark World 2013, as well as Thor: Love and Thunder as the titular Thor.
Well, I found this really interesting. Principal photography for the film took place at Windsor Great Park, a royal park of about 5,000 acres to the south of the town of Windsor, on the border of Berkshire and Surrey in England. They purposely wanted the film to look as though it was the southern part of the United States. So there's a lot of, you'll notice like the trees and the vegetation and stuff. Those are props. They filmed it in England in a actually a swampland. But yeah, they did a really good job because it's believable. It looks like the
Yeah.
States.
Definitely. Ben Salisbury and Geoff Barrow, who previously composed the score for Ex Machina, another great movie, also provided the score for Annihilation. Rock fans might recognize Geoff Barrow as one of the members of the band Portishead, or Jeff Barrow. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. But I did not know that.
You're welcome.
I effing love Portishead. I saw them in 2007, the day Steve Jobs died. Those things are connected in my head because
Wow.
I was standing 2 feet from the stage in Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City, and my phone went off with Steve Jobs died, and everybody the whole time was looking at their phone. And then Portishead came on and gave, like, they sound better than the records do. Oh, so good. I just
believe
aged
it.
myself real hardcore, but
That's all
here we
right.
are.
I know, like, when this movie came out, I had to find out where the music came from because I know, Shal, you liked it too. It was just,
love it.
I was like, who did this? This is brilliant. And then I connected the dots back to Portishead, and I was like, I love Portishead.
It totally makes sense too, like
Great.
the sort of sci-fi weird sounds and how they bend the instruments and the distortion. Totally, like it's like 1 and 2 totally makes sense.
Oh, it is kind of interesting. I mean, this is a weird Star Trek connection, but if you think about it in terms of the cinematography and the shimmer, there's a lot of lens flare. And I remember when
is.
that was introduced into the Star Trek universe, and that's when Skydance.
That was all JJ,
Yeah, that was.
Mr. Abrams.
Oh.
Yeah, it was Mr. Abrams. It was also like it was with his. Well, Skydance isn't his. Is it Is Bad Robot his?
Bad
his
Robot, yeah.
Baby. Bad Robot is his baby. Okay, Skydance was just in there doing their thing, but I just
Yeah.
the lens
Yeah,
flare.
but he definitely loves like those angular shots and the.
Yeah, but
That's the
Shalamar.
sound of a lens flare for my audio guests here. Final thoughts. Give us 1 out of 5 mutated alligators. What did you think of the movie?
Love it. Well, everybody knows how I feel about the horror genre, so we got to factor that in here. So with that said, psych, I'm giving it 5 stars this week. My first.
Mutated alligators. That's awesome.
5 mutated alligators are coming
This
to
is
get
the
everybody.
First, everybody.
Yeah, this
Even
is a
stuff
moment
that
in
I've picked,
history.
I haven't given 5. So 5 mutated alligators. Yeah, I mean, the film, brilliant cast, brilliant writing, mind-bending special effects. It breathes. I can watch it over and over again. I always get something new. I mean, there's not too much more I can want out of a film. This film, it's got heart. It's got fear. It's got laughter. There's so much to this film. It's great. So I want to point out I did laugh out loud the first time Tessa Thompson got pulled by the alligator because I was shocked into laughing. Laz and I have talked about this
that
before.
Nervous laughter.
It's nervous laughter. So yeah, there's everything in this film. So 5 mutated alligators.
I love it. What about you, Matt?
I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5 mutated alligators, but that's just because I think after watching The Mist, I was lured into a false sense of security, thinking I was going to watch something a little more wholesome, and I was not. I was almost equally petrified.
You realize the name of the movie was Annihilation.
I
not
do.
like
Very
teddy
good
bears and rainbows.
It could have been called Teddy Bears, mutated Teddy Bears.
It
and
could
rainbows.
have.
And the shimmer has a very rainbow effect.
It was an alternative title that just got chopped.
Yeah, they were like in the room in marketing. They were like, "No, I don't think that's the one."
I'm Spooky Voice Bear.
Goodness.
We'll sell them as toys. No, but honestly, the film again, it really goes against the genre of alien and invasion films and what you think, what you're gonna see and what you're gonna get. Again, I appreciate the ambiguous ending of letting the audience ask the question and think about it for themselves. So yeah, 4 out of 5.
What about you, Laz?
I give this 5 out of 5 mutated alligators. I think this is a film that caters to anyone who might be a fan of science fiction, who might be a fan of drama, who might be a fan of horror. I think it really is a well-rounded story with great performances and really delivers while also giving you the opportunity to leave that film experience with questions that you might have in your brain for a few days, if not longer.
Laz and I agreed on a film. This never happens.
We must celebrate. I will also give it 5 out of 5 mutated alligators. I love this movie. It's a comfort movie of mine. I think the notion of, these strong women going in and overcoming, and I always love any movie with that kind of theme to begin with. I'm highly biased, but also it leaves you with really deep thoughts, personal thoughts. The theme of self-destruction is something that's always resonated with me. Seeing people I love struggle with those types of behaviors and issues, and we all have it. I don't care how healthy you are. We all sort of, maybe have too much pizza or too much to drink, or binge on Snickers bars, like whatever your poison is. We all kind of fuck up, and I love that this is a story about somebody who's kind of fucked up but redeems herself, makes it through, and sort of leaves you guessing at the end, which I love when any movie kind of makes me feel incredibly uneasy about where things ended versus the neat bow, because my mind could still keep going with what happened. The imagination is wild. You could really it could end however you want it to end in your own mind versus it telling me how it ends. So I love that about this film.
Very well said. So Matt, would you like to take us into perhaps a tease of what's coming next?
I would absolutely love to tease. All right, listeners, on the next episode, we'll be covering the film Nope from director Jordan Peele. This film follows a man and his sister who discover something sinister in the skies above the California horse ranch, while the owner of a nearby theme park tries to profit from the mysterious otherworldly phenomenon. I'm very excited to see this.
I am too. I've never seen it.
Me neither. So we're going to be fresh coming into this one. I like that. So Laz, where can people find you when you're not tying your friends up to a chair and interrogating them with a machine gun?
That's a really good question. That was literally me last night.
Oh my goodness.
So where you can find me is pretty much on all of the social media platforms at Laz Marquez, LazMarquez. And you can also find me and my work at www.lazmarquez.com. And where can people find you when you're not screaming from a bear's mouth?
Oh my Lord.
Well, I mean, that's usually my Tuesdays, but normally you could catch me on Instagram at Shalimar Luis, SHALIMAR LUIS. I forgot how to spell my own name for a second. Or my website, which is shalimarluis.art. If you're interested in art, or shalimarluis.com if you need a creative director for whatever reason. But that's where I'm at. So, Mark, where can people find you when you're not cutting open your friend's stomach and finding their intestines doing the tango?
Oh, Lord. Now that's frightening. I've seen eels before. Not into eels.
Anyway, not your kink.
Not my kink.
Well, we're not here to kink shame, so...
Thank God it happened once, this podcast. Anyway.
I was going to say it, and I've never said it before.
I'm glad we don't kink shame on this podcast. And that we're very wide range of things that we're willing to accept and adopt.
Exactly.
This is a safe space, listeners.
All right. If you were like Britney Spears and like playing with knives, no. So people can find me in the BQN Collective Facebook page. You can also find me if you're a Star Trek fan on All Good Things. I host All Good Things with Amy Nelson. We cover all of the Star Trek franchise. And if you become a patron of the network on Patreon, I host a show, It's Green. So check that out. And Matt, where can people find you when you are not becoming a bouquet of flowers?
Oh, that reminds me of my first time. You can find me on Instagram on at 1701BLERD. That's my Instagram page for my web series. It's about a gay black nerd that uses Star Trek to cope with life. Episode 3 is coming out soon, but find me there. Slide in those DMs.
We would love to hear what you thought of today's episode and hope you'll join our Facebook group, the BQN Collective, to continue our discussion there. You can also send your thoughts to @CinemaZPod on Twitter and BlueSky, and let us know if you'd like to recommend a film. Please follow the network on Twitter, BlueSky, and Instagram @BQN Podcasts.
Please hit the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a star rating and written review. That helps others to find the show. You can also follow the entire network's podcasts with our master feed by searching BQN.
At this time, we'd like to thank our associate producer, Miss Amy Nelson, and a very special thanks to our own Laz Marquez for our artwork each and every week. The opening and closing music for this podcast is titled Dancing Dead and was provided by Ketsa from the Free Music Archive, providing royalty-free music for content creators.
If you'd like to help us keep all our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron member of the network on Patreon. We will add you to the Hive Mind Facebook group so you can enjoy It's Green, Amy's Math Moments, and other network perks. With a monthly subscription of $5 or more, you can join our meetings on the Hive Mind Roundtable discussion on the second Saturday of each month. Visit patreon.com/BQN to get all the details and watch your messages.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you'll tune in next time.
It's kicking in. I can see the colors in the music.
Oh no.
And I just want to say,
listeners, we're losing Mark. We're losing Mark to Shimmer.
I can taste it. It tastes like cotton candy.
Ooh. Oh, you were going to say bacon.
Bacon.
Maybe
Everything
it does taste like bacon. Everyone,
Bye.
make good choices.
Oh, I'm going to have
Never.
another drink. So there goes that. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.